What's up, people? Welcome back to another Swift 3 tutorial, and today we are going to learn about methods in Swift 3. So a method are functions that are associated with a particular type, such as classes, structures, enumerations, and all this are defined as instance methods. So let's comment it out. What does a method means? Methods are functions that are associated with a particular type, such as classes, structures, and enumerations, enums. So we do have two methods, which is called an instance method and a type method. But first we are going to talk about instance method, and then we'll move on to type method. So another word for an instance method, a instance method is the act of an instance of the type. So we can comment out, we can say instance method is the act of instance of the type. So, for example, we do have a class name and we want to count a number. So we can say class counter, open curly brackets, close curly brackets, and we want to declare it, and we say var count equals 0. That's our constant because we want to count an increment from our 0. So, and then we want to call out our function. We say func increment, open curly brackets, close curly brackets, and we are using our variable count, and we want to say plus equals 1. The older Swift, you should use count plus plus, but now it has been deprecated. Now we just use plus equals 1. It's just the same thing as plus plus. Count plus plus. So it will plus or equals 1. It will increment it because we're calling it out. But if we want to use it by a type, a parameter, so we say func increment by amount, we put it as a integer. That's our type. We are using a parameter inside our function, and we are putting as a type as an integer. We want to use a plus equals to amount, and we want for our last one we need a reset count. We say every time when each resets, let's just put it into count 0. That's all. So the counter class, which we have here, defines 3 instance methods, which is the increment, increment by int, and a reset. So the increment method increments the counter by 1, and increment by and int and the type increments the counter integer amount. Resets is it resets the counter to 0 every time, or however you want it. So the counter class also declares a variable property count to keep a track of the current counter value. Just keep a track of the counter of all the counts. You know, when it increments by 1. So next we want to declare the count class needs to declare a variable property count to keep it in the current counter values. So let's go close after the 2 brackets. That's right, let counter equals counter what will this do is the initial counter. The initial counter value is 0. Next, we need to the counter value is now 1, which we say count the increments. Next, we can say the counter's value is now 6, or we can say the counter value is now 7 by doing this. Counter increments, and we need the by, right? The amounts that we had over here. We can say by 6. Next, we need the counter value to be now 0. We just say counter reset. That's all. That's how you work out a instance method in Swift 3. So next we're gonna learn about type method. So instance methods that I described above are methods that are called an instance of the particle type, right? You can also define methods that are called an type itself. This kind of methods are called also a type method. Another word, type method is an act of a certain type that it can be a class, structure, or enums. Type methods is an act of a certain type that it can be a type. So, for instance, we do have a class. We are creating a game, basically. So we have a class name as game. We want to get the score, and then we want to use a static, and we want to put the maximum score of the game. So we say var max score equals 100. Next, we want to put the score to be constant at 0. Next, we want to put a static func, set the max score, and we want to put a params as a type of an integer. And then we want the static method to be set to value, so we say max score equals score. So next we need to call out our type method. To call our type method, it can be shown something like this. We can say game set max score, and for our score we can say 200, and game max score. So now it will show 200 for our maximum score instead of 100. We have changed it. So I don't know why I keep running my playground, but you guys try this and see if it works. If it doesn't work, just leave a comment below and I will help you guys. So this is how you do a type method. This is how a type method works compared to an instance method. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on to the next video.